$700 million. That staggering figure is currently echoing through WNBA executive offices. According to several sources intimately familiar with the turmoil, the commissioner was blindsided by the fallout. Let's analyze this. 4 weeks, the WNBA has remained locked in what insiders characterize as the most hostile collective bargaining clash in league history. Athlete compensation, revenue distribution, franchise expansion. Everything was being contested. Suddenly, without warning, Nike unleashed a commercial. 60 seconds, zero league branding, no commissioner endorsement. Just Caitlin Clark, one basketball, and the world's most dominant sports titan. The reaction at league headquarters was reportedly instantaneous. Sources aware of the friction claim communications ceased. Deliberations halted, and within hours the entire WNBA narrative pivoted, not toward the organization, not toward the union, but toward one athlete, one brand, one individual who suddenly appeared larger than the institution itself. Observe this reality. The WNBA has hemorrhaged capital every single year of its existence. That isn't an opinion. It is a publicly verified financial fact. Estimates indicate the league has surrendered between $500 million and $700 million since its inception. The NBA has financed those deficits annually, gambling on a future where women's hoops finally achieves escape velocity. Then Caitlin Clark arrived, packed arenas and shattered television metrics. Merchandise sales eclipsed every historical milestone. For the first time in 3 decades, the WNBA possessed something previously unattainable. A genuine crossover phenomenon capable of shifting the culture independently. However, this is where complications arise. That Nike advertisement wasn't a league promotion. It wasn't intended to market women's basketball as a unified movement. It was crafted to elevate Caitlin Clark as a singular powerhouse. According to financial analysts, the economic consequences are massive. Some projections suggest Caitlin's personal endorsement empire could eventually outpace what the entire WNBA earns in total revenue. Process that again. One athlete worth more than the whole organization. Inside WNBA circles, insiders suggest the response wasn't celebration, it was dread. Because the moment that footage aired, the commissioner reportedly recognized a shift that altered everything. Caitlin Clark wasn't just a player anymore. She was a rival power structure, and the league lacked authority over her trajectory. The subsequent proposal, which we'll dissect thoroughly, allegedly contained aggressive new restrictions regarding individual sponsorships, brand alliances, and media rights. Some insiders view it as a move to re-establish dominance. Others label it something else entirely: desperation. Because this saga isn't truly about a Nike ad. It's about leverage. It's about capital. It's about the fundamental query of who captures the value Caitlin Clark generates. Does she own it? Does the league own it? Does Nike own it? And what happens when those agendas collide? Over the next few minutes, we'll investigate exactly what transpired behind closed doors, what the financial risks truly represent, and why certain voices inside the WNBA are reportedly whispering one specific word: disaster. But first, you must grasp why this Nike spot differed so radically from previous league content, and why it reportedly sparked an emergency summit at the highest levels of WNBA governance. The advertisement itself was strikingly minimalist. That was intentional. No cinematic voiceovers recounting the heritage of women's sports. No montages showcasing multiple athletes collaborating as a unit. No meticulously polished slogans regarding equality, empowerment, or the shared struggle of female pros. Just Caitlin Clark in a gymnasium, practicing, hitting long-range shots with that undeniable brilliance that made her famous before she ever joined the professional ranks. The Nike logo, her name, nothing more. That minimalism, according to branding experts, was the most piercing element. Here is the reality of sports marketing. When a titan like Nike pours money into a league-wide campaign, they are purchasing association. They want consumers linking their products with the vitality, the passion, and the community of that entire sport. But when Nike funds a solo athlete commercial devoid of league imagery, they are broadcasting a different message. They are asserting this individual outgrows the league. They are declaring we don't require your trademarks to move units. They are stating Caitlin Clark is the product. Reportedly, that message hit like an explosion inside WNBA headquarters. Sources familiar with the situation claim the commissioner wasn't alerted about the ad before it debuted. Now, to be precise, Nike possesses every legal entitlement to market its signed athletes however it desires. Caitlin Clark secured a personal endorsement pact with Nike that reportedly topped $28 million over several years. That contract belongs to her, not the league. But the optics, the timing, and the sheer boldness allegedly left leadership stunned. Consider the environment. The WNBA was navigating sensitive negotiations with the Players Association. Revenue targets were being analyzed. Salary frameworks were being contested. And suddenly, the league's premier attraction was headlining a campaign reminding everyone she occupied a totally different financial stratosphere than her peers. Wait, this isn't about whether Caitlin earned that contract. Clearly she did. Her collegiate viewership mirrored NBA postseason games. Her jersey sales surpassed every other pro basketball player, male or female. The market spoke. Nike responded. That is free enterprise. But inside the WNBA, some reportedly viewed it differently. According to insiders, there were fears the Nike spot sabotaged the league's collective bargaining leverage. If Caitlin could produce immense wealth independent of the WNBA, what reason did she have to support league-wide deals? What reason did sponsors have to fund the WNBA brand when they could simply back Caitlin directly? Analysts described it as a schism, a moment where the league's interests and its superstars' interests visibly fractured. And the data made that schism impossible to ignore. The commercial reportedly racked up over 30 million views across digital platforms within 72 hours. Social media engagement stats dwarfed anything the WNBA had generated all season. Marketing firms observed that searches for Caitlin Clark briefly exceeded searches for the WNBA itself. One athlete outshining the league. The reaction inside executive circles was allegedly rapid and fierce. Emergency meetings were drafted, strategy sessions were held, and according to various reports, a fresh proposal began migrating through ownership groups. A document that some insiders claim was intended to ensure no player ever wielded this much influence again. What that document contained and why it allegedly sparked a civil war among WNBA owners is where this narrative takes a truly startling turn. Before discussing the proposal, you must understand just how much capital the WNBA has been losing and why Caitlin Clark's arrival shifted the entire math. The WNBA has never turned a profit. Not once in 28 years of business. According to diverse financial audits and industry expert estimates, the league has totaled between $500 million and $700 million in cumulative deficits since its 1997 debut. The NBA has offset those losses via direct funding, treating the WNBA as a long-term play in the sports market. But that backing was always conditional. The NBA demanded returns. They wanted viewership growth. They wanted commercial expansion. They wanted the WNBA to eventually function without needing yearly infusions of cash just to survive. For most of the league's history, that target felt unreachable. TV ratings stayed flat. Attendance was spotty. Star athletes were respected, but rarely became global icons. The WNBA was existing but not flourishing. Then Caitlin Clark arrived. Her final season at Iowa produced viewership that shocked the industry. Matches that usually drew a few 100,000 fans were suddenly attracting 5, 6, 7 million. The championship game featuring Caitlin reportedly pulled over 20 million fans. Those figures outperformed most NBA regular season contests. When she joined the WNBA draft, the impact was immediate. Apparel sales surged. Ticket costs for Indiana Fever games skyrocketed. TV ratings for WNBA games climbed whenever Caitlin competed. The league finally possessed what it always craved, a global icon. But here is a complication nobody saw coming. A global icon doesn't stay confined. A global icon attracts capital, fame, and deals that don't flow through the front office. A global icon becomes her own industry. And that is precisely what occurred. Caitlin's endorsements quickly overshadowed her WNBA paycheck. Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, Xfinity, Wilson. Endless brands scrambled to partner with her name. Some estimates suggest her off-court income exceeds $75,000 per day when everything is totaled. Per day. Meanwhile, her WNBA rookie salary was reportedly near $76,000 for the entire season. That gap created friction inside the organization. Some allegedly perceived Caitlin's outside success as a threat instead of a win. If partners could reach Caitlin directly, why bother with league-wide sponsorship? If fans showed up solely for Caitlin, what happened if she sat out or left? The bargaining talks reflected these fears. According to reports, initial league-side proposals included terms that would grant the WNBA more control over player endorsements, tighter restrictions on media appearances during the season, and new systems for how individual sponsor money might impact league math. Some insiders label these as protective steps to ensure Caitlin's fame helped everyone. Others viewed them differently, Control tactics, attempts to seize value that athletes built themselves. And when news of these terms reportedly reached player reps, the response was hostile. But the real explosion occurred after the Nike ad debuted. When the terms allegedly became even more restrictive, the timing was unmistakable. Within days of the Nike ad going viral, a modified proposal allegedly traveled through WNBA owners and leadership. According to insiders speaking anonymously, this new text featured terms far beyond previous discussions. Here is what was reportedly included. First, tighter sponsorship disclosure mandates. Players would allegedly have to give advance notice of major deals, including filming, to the league. The stated goal was coordination. Critics saw it as spying. Second, changed revenue sharing models. Some versions allegedly suggested a percentage of player endorsement pay above a specific limit should fund a league development pool. The pitch was shared investment. The rebuttal was theft. Third, broaden morality and conduct terms linked to personal brands. This would allegedly grant the league more power to block player activities deemed harmful to league goals. Observe this closely. None of these terms were officially confirmed. They surfaced via leaks, rumors, and anonymous reports to journalists. The WNBA officially refused to discuss internal drafts, but the outrage was authentic. Player reps reportedly labeled the terms unprecedented. Some called them punitive. Others utilized harsher language we won't repeat here. And at the heart of it all, whether named or not, was Caitlin Clark. Because everyone knew who these rules were really targeting. They were about stopping another scenario where one athlete could build so much power that the league became secondary. They were about ensuring whatever value Caitlin created, the WNBA would seize a major slice. They were about dominance. Inside ownership meetings, the conflict was reportedly intense. Certain owners reportedly backed the rules passionately. These were investors who had funded teams for years, expecting shared growth. They viewed Caitlin's outside pay as money that should be feeding the league. They feared a future where brands skipped the WNBA to work with stars directly. Other owners fought the rules just as hard. These owners realized Caitlin Clark was the greatest asset the WNBA ever had. They feared aggressive rules would alienate her, potentially pushing her to other leagues or early retirement. They knew in the modern creator economy, you can't trap star power. You can only hope to partner with it. The commissioner was reportedly stuck. Sources describe her role as increasingly impossible. Publicly, she had to praise Caitlin's impact as a league-wide win. Privately, she allegedly felt heat from specific owners to pass controls to stop that impact from dwarfing the whole. It was a political disaster. And then the leaks began. Parts of the draft reached sports media. Headlines surfaced asking if the WNBA was trying to stifle its top star. Social media exploded with fans who couldn't believe the reports. The PR crisis had started and the $700 million question became unavoidable. Was the WNBA guarding its future or killing its biggest chance? The public outcry was fast and harsh. Within hours of reports suggesting the WNBA wanted tighter player control, social media became a war zone. Fans who loved Caitlin's rise suddenly attacked the league. The criticism was constant. Accounts with massive followings posted thoughts accusing the WNBA of sabotaging its growth. One viral post stated, "They finally find a star to carry the league and their first move is to chain her. Unbelievable." It got over 40,000 shares. Talk shows boosted the drama. Pundits who usually ignore women's sports suddenly had takes on WNBA management. Some defended the organization, saying bargaining always involves tough talks and these terms might be fair in context, but the loudest voices were negative. "This is exactly why women's sports struggle," one analyst reportedly said. "They find a golden goose and start fighting over who owns the eggs." The analogy stuck. Partners began issuing cautious statements. While no giant brand publicly quit the WNBA, marketing experts saw a shift. Brands that used Group WNBA images started favoring Caitlin-specific content. The math was simple. If conflict existed between Caitlin and the league, brands wanted to side with the bigger crowd. Player reactions were varied. Some of Caitlin's peers posted support, praising her success and calling for unity. Others stayed quiet. A few anonymous quotes hinted that not everyone was happy about one player getting so much focus. But here is what mattered: the story had changed. Before the Nike ad and the leaks, the story was simple. Caitlin Clark was lifting the WNBA. Shared success. After the leaks, the story became a battle. Caitlin Clark versus the WNBA. Star power versus league control. A young star trying to maximize a rare moment versus a league allegedly trying to stop her. That lens was devastating for the commissioner. Every appearance became an opening for attacks. Every bargaining question became a test of whether the WNBA valued its top asset. The commissioner reportedly spent more time handling PR than handling league growth. Inside sources called the mood toxic. Staff were allegedly told not to mention the Caitlyn situation. Media calls were ignored at record rates. The PR team reportedly worked non-stop to highlight stories unrelated to money or rules. None of it worked because in the attention world, drama beats strategy every time. And this drama had everything: money, ego, jealousy, a rising star, an old guard, and a core question nobody could answer: who actually wins when Caitlyn Clark succeeds? Experts joined the conversation, and their data made things even messier. To grasp why this escalated, you must hear from sports business pros. Their view shows how rare and risky this moment was for the WNBA. Analysts immediately saw the issue. The WNBA has used a group branding model forever, one expert explained. That works when no player is worth more than the organization. The moment that flips, everything breaks. The expert was describing star player capture. Here is the logic. In most leagues, the brand is worth more than any player. Fans might love stars, but they follow the sport. The NFL is bigger than any QB. The NBA outlived Jordan. But sometimes an athlete emerges who flips the script. They become so iconic that fans link the whole sport to them. When that happens, the league loses power because if that star leaves, they take the fans too. According to data, Caitlyn Clark was that exact case. Her ratings didn't just help the WNBA, they multiplied historical averages. Her following crushed official league accounts. Her apparel was the majority of total sales. Subtract Caitlyn and the data fails. From a business view, one pro noted, the WNBA is worth more with a happy Caitlyn than with tighter control and an angry star. That logic should win. But groups don't always act logically. Financial pros also analyzed the $700 million loss figure. They said the number was mostly right if you total every loss in history and adjust for today's money. But they noted something vital: those losses were investments. You can't build a league expecting instant profit. One pro said, it takes decades to build fans and stars. The NBA lost money for years. The WNBA was a long play. The question was if it was paying off, and the answer was yes. Ratings were up. Teams were expanding. Values were rising. The WNBA was closer to profit than ever. And Caitlyn Clark was the reason. So why risk it with rules? Experts think groups react to change with control. It's easier to make rules than handle shifts. Facing a future where its value rested on one person, the WNBA might have reached for control because real control was fading. That leads to the internal war that nearly broke the owners. Two sides emerged. The first was the old guard. These were owners who joined years ago, often losing money. They saw women's sports as a cause. They valued the group. They feared too much focus on one star would kill the team culture. For them, the Nike ad was a red flag. If brands skip the league, what happens to small teams? If Caitlyn is worth more than the league, what power does the WNBA have? These were fair fears, but critics said they were the fears that kept the WNBA small for years. The second side was the growth group. These were new owners who bought in recently as values rose. They weren't there for the past, they wanted the future. And they saw Caitlyn as the engine for their investment. For them, the rules were suicide. Why fight the player bringing the fans? Why annoy sponsors? The fight became personal. Meetings were hostile. Old owners said new ones didn't get the mission. New owners said old ones were okay with being small. The commissioner had to judge, but she was stuck. She was hired when the goal was just surviving, not handling a rocket ship. Her ties were with the old owners. Some think she agreed with them. Others think she was just overwhelmed. Either way, everyone blamed her. Old owners wanted her to be tougher. New ones wanted her to stop the self-sabotage. And Caitlyn just kept playing. Her camp knew the drama. She knew some didn't love her success. Her public move was just to keep winning. But privately, sources say her team looked at other options. What other leagues existed? What if the WNBA stayed hostile? Those questions scared the growth owners. And they finally forced a move. Let's look at the $700 million again. That number isn't just the past, it's the future. Data suggests the WNBA could be profitable in 5 years or keep losing money faster. The difference is Caitlyn Clark. If she stays happy, ratings stay high, the next TV deal breaks records and team values jump. It's a chain. The first link is Caitlyn. But if she leaves or burns out, the chain breaks. Ratings drop, deals fail, growth stops. Projections say the gap between those paths is $1 billion. That is why the drama was so risky. Every bad headline pushed a narrative that could drive Caitlyn away. The financial stakes were huge. Inside, this reality finally hit. Insiders say new drafts started removing the harshest rules. Oversight was reduced. The tone shifted to partnership. But the damage was done. The public story was WNBA versus Caitlyn. Whether fair or not, that was the brand now. Partners noticed. Future stars noticed. Rival leagues saw an opening. The $700 million question was now about future losses if the league drove its star away. Then came the twist. Reports suggested the commissioner never actually wanted the harshest rules. They allegedly came from a few owners and were just options. If true, the commissioner was a scapegoat. The old guard needed her to take the hit if the rules failed. The new guard needed her to take the hit if they worked. It's a thankless job. Meanwhile, the players' union was preparing. They were researching how other leagues handled deals to show the WNBA was overreaching. The message, if you push, we fight. And the players have the fans. They are the product. Finally, Nike reportedly stepped in. They had millions on the line with Caitlyn. If the WNBA hurt her brand, Nike would lose. Observers say Nike spoke to the league privately. Soon after, the rules vanished. In sports business, that's rarely a coincidence. So where are we? The rules have been changed. The drama has cooled. But the tension remains. The WNBA needs Caitlyn more than she needs them. The owners still disagree. The commissioner is still in the middle. And the $700 million question remains. Can the WNBA win without trying to own the winner? The next years will decide. The window is open, but it might close. Treating a star as a threat is suicide. Failing to adapt is a death sentence. The league must choose, embrace the future or stay in the past. Do you think the WNBA tried to control Caitlyn Clark? Or was it media hype? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear what you